What's up, guys? I want to show you guys, this is the Apex 300 portable power station by BLUETTI. It's one of their newest portable power stations. This is one of their full home backup systems that's expandable. So you can actually expand this and plug this directly into the panel of your house, or you can get a BLUETTI panel as well to essentially have complete backup in your house. What's really nice is it's pretty small. It's honestly not super big for being almost in that 3,000 watt range. So I want to just kind of show around this power station itself and talk about some of the features that it has in case you're thinking about getting it. And then I'll just give you guys my overall thoughts and opinion at the end. All right, so here's just kind of a closer look at it. So you can see the power station. As you can see on the bottom, you have the BLUETTI Apex 300 logo, and then on the right side, you have the capacity. So it's 2,764 watts of battery capacity, and it's got 3,840 watts of output. And let's get into some of the features on here. So right here in the middle, we have our different AC outlets. We have 4 different AC outlets, and you get that continuous output of 3,840 watts total between the 4. However, you're not going to be able to get that out of a single port. You're going to get up to 1920 watts out of the 2 right ports and then 1920 on the 2 left ports. So total, you know, it's that almost 4,000 watts of continuous. So pretty amazing. A lot of output. You're going to be able to power a lot of different high-powered appliances with this. And they can also surge up to double that, so 7,680 watts. So if you do have a device like, you know, power tools and things like that that really need a lot of power at the beginning, this is going to be able to handle a lot of power, you know, to start up initial devices, even like an AC unit, things like that. And you notice on the front here too that we don't have any USB-A or USB-C ports, which we see with a lot of portable power stations. However, this one doesn't have that, just because I feel like what BLUETTI was really going for this is complete home backup. And so this is basically for home backup where you're not going to be moving it around a lot. It is light enough to where you could do that if you wanted to. And BLUETTI gives you the options if you want. You can actually get an adapter where you could add USB-C ports or USB-A ports if you want, and other ports and things like that. However, mainly this is going to be used to plug into your panel, you know, of your house or an off-grid system that you have. You know, this is going to be used to basically power large appliances, as it's also expandable. You know, it can expand a ton as well. And so that's something super interesting about this power station. Something I really like actually as well, because I feel like that leads to, you know, lower costs for us, for the consumers. As you know, we don't have to pay as much for those other features when we're not really going to be using them. You know, on a power station like this, a lot of times you're not really going to be using the USB and USB-Cs, as it's just going to be plugged into your house as backup power, or you already have the outlets, stuff like that. And so it lowers the cost, but you still get a lot of power and a lot of other cool features, and you can add on other features if you really want to. But going over here to some of the other features on this power station, one thing that's pretty cool is you can actually adjust the charging modes depending on how fast you want to charge it via the AC input. And so up here, as you can see, you get 3 different modes, and it shows up on the screen over there. You get turbo mode, auto mode, and silent mode. And when you turn on the turbo mode, it's going to be able to get up to 3,600 watts of max AC input. So you can charge this thing from 0 to 80% in about 45 minutes, BLUETTI claims. And so a little bit over an hour, you know, if it's 100%, which is really quick. That's a lot of input, so it's really nice that it has that. However, with turbo mode, it's not going to be as good for your battery. So if you want the battery to last longer, you know, probably don't want to use turbo mode as much, but it's cool that it has those different options. And then on the left over here, you have your AC button. If you want to use your outlets, you turn that on. If it's green, it'll turn on. You also have eco mode right here. If you turn the eco mode button on, basically the idle consumption will be a lot less when you're not plugging things in, stuff like that. It'll run more efficiently. You're not going to use as much power, and so the battery will last longer, which is pretty cool. And then something else really cool is that you can actually just adjust from 120 volts to 240 volts. So this has both on this power station. You have the 240 volt outlets on the side, which I'll show you. Then you have the 120 volt outlets, those on the front right there. And it is really cool that you can just easily switch it, just clicking that button up or down. So really fast way to switch, which is nice. You can also adjust it in the app as well. But really cool that it has that. And you have that screen right there that shows you the input, the output, the charging. And it'll all adjust when you plug something in, which I'll show you here in a little bit. But essentially the screen will just adjust depending on what you plug into it and depending on what kind of output it has. But going along over here to the right side of the power station, we have our different charging ports. So we actually get our solar charging ports right here on the left side. And you actually get 2 ports, which is really nice because you can plug in 2 solar panels into there. And each of the ports has 1,200 watts of input. And so you can get up to 2,400 watts of solar input, which is super nice because you can charge it, you know, fairly quickly. You know, only like a little bit over an hour if you have really good sun. And what's also really cool, and I think it's the first ever in a portable power station, is that BLUETTI actually has an add-on where you can get something called a Solar X input. And you can actually, along with the 2,400 watts of input, you can actually, with this other Solar X adapter, you can actually plug in an additional 4,000 watts of solar input into the power station as well. And so you can get over 6,000 watts of input, which is absolutely insane. You're going to be able to charge this up in less than an hour. And so if you really need to charge this thing fast, it's pretty insane if you have that Solar X adapter. You're going to be able to charge this thing in less than an hour which is pretty amazing. You know, if you did have a blackout or power outage for multiple days, you know, you're going to be able to get this thing up and running very quickly with that charging, which is pretty amazing. But then the port to the right of this, you have your expansion port right here where you can plug in other expansion batteries and expand it. And you can actually expand this battery up to over 64 kilowatt hours, which is pretty amazing. And it's really nice because you have the option, you know, depending on your needs, you can completely adjust it, add more extra batteries, and you know, you can add on to this power station later on if you want to. But along with that, on the left side of the power station, we have some other inputs and outputs right here. This can actually be an input or an output. You can actually plug in a generator right here and charge the Apex 300 with a generator, or you can charge your electric car with it. You also get a 30 amp plug right here, and then you also get a 50 amp plug right here. And the 2 ports on the outside can go up to 240 versus the middle one can only go up to 120. And it's pretty amazing that it has these different ports and options because, you know, you could plug your RV directly into this depending on what adapters you have. You could plug your dryer into this. You know, you can just plug in really high powered appliances into this, and because it's expandable, you know, you can expand it to however long you need to run those devices essentially, which is pretty amazing, especially for a power station this compact. And like I said earlier, if you want to use the 240 volts, you just flip the switch. It's super easy. You know, you can go from 120 to 240 just super quickly. But I just kind of wanted to show you guys what it looks like when you plug something in here. As you can see, I have the AC power turned on, the green light's on, and it's only pulling about 20 watts. This phone here, as you can see, it is charging. And obviously this can handle way more than just a phone. As you can see, with 22 watts of continuous output, it can run for about 6.7 days. So a really long time. And as you can see, the screen and everything adjusts when you do plug something in. And this power station does have handles and everything. You know, you can move it around and be more portable and plug your smaller devices like this if you wanted to. I feel like this power station was mainly made to be kind of stationary in your house or in your RV to power continuous loads, you know, high loads and stuff like that, especially because you can expand it. However, you know, because it's not that heavy, it only weighs about like 83 pounds, and there's handles, you know, you can move it around and power your devices just like this as well if you wanted to. So it is very versatile and it's pretty amazing. So as far as my overall thoughts and opinion, honestly, it's an awesome power station. I really like how it has the 30 amp plug on the side, the RV plug, because you can just plug your RV directly into this. And then it also has the four prong plug as well, like for your dryer and things like that, just because a lot of power stations in this range, they'll have the RV plug, but they won't have the 4-prong one. So this one just gives you a lot of flexibility because you can, you know, plug your dryer or your RV directly into it, and you can stack, you know, it's expandable as well. So you can expand this from one battery up to more depending on your needs of your house. So really cool power station, and it's really small. Plus you have the different charging modes right here. You don't even have to use the app, which most batteries, you have to use the app to do that. So I like that it has those as well. And just the ability to switch from 120 to 240 volts is just a really cool feature in my opinion. So if you guys are looking for a power station kind of in this range and this size for full home backup, definitely recommend checking it out.